What is up, you guys? We are here for our weekly manifestation oracle message. Let's see what we've got. Ooh, love to see this. Protection. This is such an encouraging, comforting message to have today. I think, God and the angels, they just keep giving me these little comfort signs and little surprises and winks and kindnesses in places. And so it's really heartening. I've been praying so much. Everything's just so intense everywhere you look right now. But you and your loved ones and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven. I've got to give props to the Kabbalah Center right now. They're just so good at getting through things without falling into fear and negativity and doubt and lack. And they know the power of how evil eye and evil tongue can just get into something and poison it and ruin it, So we really have to be present and do our best not to catastrophize, not to let the nightmares play out in our face and in our feeds. The opponent would love to terrify us about everything and make us feel completely disempowered and take us over completely. And so we have to choose to keep the light on. And it takes work and it takes discipline. And I am an empath. I am with you guys. I feel everything. I feel everything I feel. I'm feeling everything everyone else is feeling. It's a lot. But we are getting through this, and I've just heard a lot of encouraging messages and a lot of sound reason. And, when you can connect with somebody that's, emotionally sober and sound and reasonable and intelligent and informed, you can really back yourself off the ledge, and calm down and get back to center and ground yourself again. And I'm having to do it too. And usually, I stay quiet and I just deal with everything on my own. But I've really been, trying to talk about it and talk to people. And when I have, it's amazing because when I'm weak, they're strong. And when they're weak, I can be strong. And we can be there for one another. And so I think that's very important right now. But I think that there's so many different things going on, coming at us from the sky, from the water, from the nature, from people, from everything right now. Finances, it's all just and we can feel very vulnerable and very exposed right now. But I think God wants us to know, and the angels want us to know, that we are loved and that our loved ones and our possessions are safe and protected by heaven. All right. If you've been out there wondering and on edge and wondering if you should take some kind of big bold move or a drastic action about where to go and what to do, maybe just settle down and let yourself find peace before you make any big bold choices for yourself. And just think about this for the moment. You're protected, your possessions are protected, and you will be you'll be okay. Let heaven guide you from a place of being calm. Because what we don't want to do is let our emotions completely take over and cloud our judgment, gets our hormones going. And then what happens is that we fall out of affinity with the light of the Creator, because then we are affected by the cause, right? The Creator is the cause. And so the Creator is unaffected. The Creator decides the immanence that the creator is going to be, and it is sustained. And then we see this light and we're affected. We're like, the light. So, or we see catastrophe and we're like, catastrophe. So what we have to train ourselves, we have to learn to do is become more like the light and be able to, say, walk into any environment and maintain our vibration, our emotions, our thoughts. Like, be in control of your own mind, be in the control of your own mindset. It's very easy to get in a crowd of people and get caught up in mob mentality, right? Because all of our auras are all intermingling and we feel each other's energy, and then we're listening to each other's words and we're feeling each other's emotions, we're getting worked up. And so it's, it's easy to be overwhelmed by the stimulation of it all right now. So be sure to take regular opportunities to just pull yourself away and reconnect with your own energy, reconnect with your own quiet center, and take little prayer breaks. I have been praying more than ever, just all the time, every minute, but it does make me feel instantly better. Makes me feel like I'm surrounded in protection and in love and in might and strength. And it does make me feel so at peace when I stay connected like that and I'm in that consciousness. And, it lasts until about an hour later or 10 minutes later, and, something's caught my, attention again, and I'm, so it's a work in progress, but it's about practice and catching yourself and changing the channel, changing your thoughts, changing the story that you're telling yourself about those thoughts. So many of my Kabbalah teachers keep emphasizing that what your consciousness, like, we can all be in the same room at the same restaurant, but having a different experience entirely, right? Depending on how we perceive how everything's going and what's happening. So, for instance, like when you're in a natural disaster, and like when the tornadoes came through East Nashville, it was devastating. My favorite businesses and people I cared about and their hard work was gone, and beautiful, wonderful historical houses were destroyed, and it was so sad, and it was a tragedy, and it was hard to think at the time, well, good can come of this, good things can happen. And they did. I mean, we've got now, like, things have grown, and there's all kinds of wonderful things that have come out of it, and people's business models shifted, and they were able to grow even bigger businesses and expand. And so you never know how the disruption of the moment, if you can stay productive and positive about how you are going to show up in this moment. We're not going to say toxic positivity and just think everything's sunshine and rainbows. That's not what I'm saying. We need to be realistic about what we're seeing and what's going on. But in the midst of it, this is when we talk about having certainty, when we have to choose certainty in the midst of uncertainty. We can choose that something good will come of this. And the Creator can turn it around and use this, even this dark situation, to expand your life and springboard you in ways that you could have never imagined. If you can keep that faith, if you can keep that trust. So it's hard, everybody's going through so much, we're all facing, our own challenges right now, and many of us have like interwoven plaid challenges. So, and fears and worries, but just know that you are going to be okay. And if you're watching this video, then you are part of a collective that can pray together. And even though we're not seeing this video at the same time, we can share our consciousness and be in oneness and union and agreement that we are praying for protection for everyone who sees this video, for everyone that they love, and all that is theirs, their mind, body, soul, heart, property, home, car, job, their entire circumstances and situation, they are protected, and everyone around them and the people that they love, they are under an umbrella of protection. Because there can be all of us, anybody that sees this in the future, the now, the past, time doesn't matter. It's an illusion. But we agree, we stand and agree in love and union and brotherhood and sisterhood in the name of the Father, Adonai, Hashem, El Shaddai, in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ, and in the name of the Holy Spirit, we declare it and we claim it. Amen. I'm not very good at praying out loud. It's really hard for me to do, so we do our best. Okay. Let's see, what is our next card? Ready, set, go. All right. It's time to get on with it. Now is the perfect moment to dive in and embrace your heart's desire. When things are disrupted, this is also a time of opportunity. When things are changing and things are shifting, it's scary, things are uncertain, everything's all up in the air, but those are the times to take opportunity. Right? It's like, for instance, when the stock market is all volatile and down, so you want to take the opportunity to buy a bunch of stock while it's cheap, because when the market stabilizes, it's going to go back up again, and it's going to continue to follow the trend of that business, probably going, gradually up and up and up. So, when life gives you lemons, you can make lemonade. So in World War I, people's ancestors, including some of mine, came over and started a whole life here. And so you never know what is birthing the way for a whole new life, whole new blessings to come forward that you don't expect. So now is the perfect moment to dive in and embrace your heart's desire. And also, it's like you don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. So do the things that you love now, while you have them. Nature is in rough shape right now. Enjoy nature while we have it. And I believe that the planet can always bounce back and continue healing itself, but not if we destroy it at the rate that we are. It's like the body, the body can heal. It's resilient. It can bounce back, but it needs space and time and rest to do that. So right now, I think seize the moment, carpe diem. We don't know what's possible until we try. We don't know what is in store for tomorrow. We have no idea. So be in the moment, be in today, but give yourself to today. I was kind of beating myself up earlier, and I shouldn't have been beating myself up, but it's been kind of hard to focus the last couple of days and just double down into the routine and do it. I've been guilty of getting caught in the phone, and you think you're only sitting there for a few minutes, and then you're like, oh no, it's been not a few minutes. And and so I'm just trying to be more conscious and intentional with myself about being disciplined to stick with my creative activities, to stick with my healthy routines, to do the things that keep me occupied in creator consciousness, just like the light, and be making beauty and light and not getting overwhelmed. And I mean, what am I just going to put my life on hold for, I don't know, waiting for the planet to calm down? It's not going to happen. You know, one of my favorite things about the show, The Chosen, which if you haven't heard me talk about The Chosen a million times, it's the show that you can download the app and watch it for free. This is made to be a free show so people can see it no matter what platform they have. But The Chosen is about Jesus, and when he went to find his disciples, and it chronicles the whole of his transitioning from private citizen Jesus into, all right, like, I'm starting this mission, I'm starting my ministry, and he knows what it's going to be leading up to. So, you know, it's pretty hard on him. But so it's about like gathering up the disciples and all of their experience with it, and how they're all just like normal people, and they're not like these religious scholars. Like, none of the disciples were particularly religious. They didn't practice. They weren't like educated in like Hebrew school or anything. Like, they had a little bit like from their elementary school, but they weren't like erudite, like educated, like people of the church. So he had all these people with him teaching them as they went, you know. But there was this one moment where like the Romans are starting to get the idea that, oh, and by the way, what I was going to say is that every episode that I watch of The Chosen, there's always something poignant that's happening to the disciples, or in the episode that people are like in their process and they're dealing with it. It's like it always addresses exactly something that's going on for me that day. It's so funny. So the other day, I started watching this episode that I keep having to start over because I keep falling asleep. And it's the episode where Jesus is planning his sermon for the Sermon on the Mount, and all the disciples are doing the production work. They're trying to get the stage built. They're trying to like spread the word and tell everybody when and where and all that. And in the midst of it, their pre-production, the Roman soldiers show up to arrest Jesus to take him in for some questioning. And they don't know that he's just getting detained for questioning. And they just had this whole situation where John the Baptist was just arrested and put into prison for a life sentence. And so they're hysterical. They're like beside themselves. And Jesus is like, look, don't worry. I'm going to comply. Everybody stay calm. Keep planning. Get ready for the show. Like, everybody's going to come to the sermon. Like, we need to be ready for the big day. So he goes with the Romans. He gets arrested. He goes and gets interrogated, and two of the disciples follow behind, and they're trying to go like make sure they can bust him out of jail or like bail him out or whatever. And they completely miss him because he goes in, he gets questioned, and then they let him go, and he just goes and works on his sermon for like the whole day and doesn't tell everybody that he's back. And they're all terrified, and they're like wringing their hands. They're like arguing with themselves, like in groups, like, are we gonna bust him out of jail? Like, what are we gonna do? And he gets back to the camp, and he's like, everything done? Are we all ready to go? And they're like, Jesus, where have you been? And he's like, well, I've been working on my sermon. They just needed to question me, but like, I told you I'd be back, and now I'm back. And they're like, couldn't you have told us you're back first? And he's like, you can't shut down every time things get scary, and every time things get, you know, uncomfortable. You can't shut down like this, because he was like, it's only going to get more complicated, and it's only going to get harder from here. And I thought about that. I've been thinking about it, and it's like, we can't shut down, you know. This is what low-level trauma responses look like. You get brain fog. You're like walking in circles. You're keeping yourself busy, but you're not doing anything that's meaningful. You're doing like hypervigilant, obsessive, compulsive things, like cleaning, doing things you can feel control with. Maybe you're frozen and you're just going into a trance, or like you're trying to do things, but you just can't get it done because you're too spacey. You know, and so you're procrastinating, and you're jumping tasks, and you're not really following through on anything, right? Like, low-level trauma responses are a condition that most adults are in a lot of times, don't even know it, because our a nervous system could get so dysregulated, and we're being inundated with like so much all the time, not to mention the actually traumatizing things that we go through. So realizing and being able to identify when you are in a trauma response, and then try to like ground yourself and re-regulate so that you can calm your mind and get focused. There is more literature out there that I can give you on how to recognize trauma responses and how to regulate yourself. To Be Magnetic they have so many resources for regulating yourself and rewriting your nervous system and using your neuroplasticity. But the Crappy Childhood Fairy, she has a YouTube channel, and she has like, that's her expertise. She talks about how childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome lingers in the nervous system until you heal it. And so most adults that have had childhood post-traumatic stress are usually oscillating between different trauma responses because they haven't ever learned to regulate their nervous system. I didn't realize until like last year that the last 40 years I have probably been just living with a completely dysregulated nervous system. Maybe not maybe like 35 years, 36 years. I was pretty aware early on. So yeah, but don't beat yourself up because a lot's been happening, but do try to give yourself a prayer and meditation practice that you can tune into daily or multiple times a day, ways that you can refresh yourself and get centered and grounded. And that will help you be more productive. I need to actually do this. When I've used this, it's a great tool. But the Pomodoro method is really awesome. It's like when you set a timer for 25 minutes. And when that timer goes, like when you set that timer, you work and you focus and you concentrate and you do whatever it is that you want to procrastinate, you make yourself do it for 25 minutes. And then when that 25 minutes is up, you get to set another timer for 5 minutes. And you get to do whatever you want for 5 minutes. You get to go make yourself coffee or tea, or do a little twerk out, or do like walk around your garden and pull some weeds, whatever you want. You can go to the mailbox. And think about this. If you're doing this for a few hours, then you get a lot in this, in this time span. So like, do it again. Go sit down to your project and do another 25 minutes of concentrated work. And like, you're not allowed to like look at your phone and stuff while you're doing this 25 minutes. You have to stay focused for the 25 minutes. And during your 5 minutes, you can do your phone, whatever you want. So when you think about that amount of concentrated work, you get a lot done in that amount. And so say you do this method for a few hours. At the end of the few hours, you have gotten a lot of work done in probably various projects. And then you've gotten to do a lot of fun little fuck off stuff for like 5 minutes at a time. So you're feeling pretty fulfilled at the end of the day, right? So yeah, try that. Maybe we can all try to do this. So we'll make it a commitment together. We're going to try the Pomodoro method this week. We're also going to take extra care to watch our thoughts and our catastrophizing, and to regulate our nervous systems. And I need to commit to doing some major To Be Magnetic work and doing some of their DIs, which is their deep imaginings. They have their own particular meditations that they have paired with like binaural beats and stuff, and it gets you into a parasympathetic state, which is the state that starts calming your nervous system down so that you can start like your body functions can start working properly again, and you can think straight. And from that state, you can also suggest new things to your subconscious, and you can rewrite your neuroplasticity. Pay attention, notice repetitious signs and your inner guidance, as this can yield valuable information. So yes, pay attention. There might be little messages that you pick up on, or you might notice like, I don't know, something happening over and over again, and you're like, oh wait, maybe this is like a good idea. If I should try this, maybe I should try this method. You never know. It's like the other day, there was a little thumbnail that had some sort of YouTube algorithm suggestion. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll watch this. And I watched it, and it led to another video, and it was like 2 really great pieces of advice and information that I hadn't known. So pay attention. As far as like the world stage right now and all of the environmental dangers and political dangers and extraterrestrial dangers, like there's so much going on right now. And yeah, so it's very, very good idea to pay attention to your surroundings and be aware of what's going on and be smart and wise about just taking extra precaution, just doing things the wise way. Don't be foolhardy, just be extra safe when you're like walking by yourself somewhere in the dark or whatnot. I've been, more careful about my walks because sometimes it's at the end of the day. And if I'm going through the forest, I don't want to cut back through the woods if it's getting too dark. So I take the park, like the outer park, back home and walk through the neighborhoods. And I think that's a lot safer. So you guys just be aware, be safe. But also just know that like heaven is guiding you and trying to put you in alignment with opportunities and with blessings and to guide you and lead you at all times. And so your angels and spirit guides and, God and the Holy Spirit, Jesus, they're going to put things in your path and in your way that you will see and you'll find, or that you'll hear, or that you'll stumble upon. But it's up to you to kind of be able to distinguish when you're like searching for a sign, you're looking for a sign, you want to see something and you want it to mean something, versus like when something jumps out at you when you're not expecting it. And so when that thing keeps jumping out at you and you're least expecting it, be open to the guidance that you feel, because like you will feel what it means. It's almost instantaneous. You'll be like, oh, I know what that means. Like you'll just have like this little like voice tell you from your gut. But it's whether or not we pay attention or whether or not we want to pay attention to those things sometimes. So just keep your eyes peeled and your heart open. What do we have here? Mother healing. As your feelings towards your mother heal, your desires manifest more rapidly and accurately. And so this is so true because our mother wounds they correlate with our self-worth. This is just archetypal truth, and the way that we're connected with the feminine and the way that we're connected with the mother. She has an effect on the way that we feel about ourselves. And so the way that we feel about ourselves informs our self-worth and our sense of deservingness. So when you harbor hard feelings towards your mother, or when you have like loose ends with your mother and sharp edges, it affects like the other things that are related to self-worth in your life as well. Like your relationship with your mother has an effect on the sustenance that you're able to manifest. So, and like your relationship with your father kind of manifests in like what kind of relationships you have and what kind of relationship you have to life, the way you show up in the world. So the mother is like, what do I deserve? What do I feel like I'm worth? And so that has to do with like work and what people pay you and your sustenance and your stability and your security. But it can also put out the kind of vibration that attracts in certain individuals versus others. So it behooves us to have a healthy relationship with our mother. But I also feel that the more that we practice forgiveness with our mothers, I have this sense that it actually can affect the healing of our bodies and their bodies as well. And when we pray for our mother's healing in her physical healing alongside our own, I think that that also has a more powerful effect than anyone else praying for your mother. So the more that we forgive our mothers and the more we strengthen that relationship or the way that we feel about our mothers, even if we don't have our mother physically available to strengthen that relationship with, whether it be because we are alienated and we don't talk anymore, or whether they're physically somewhere else, or whether they aren't with us anymore, you can change the way that you feel about your mother, and you're still connected on a soul level. So that will have every bit of an effect on your own personal physical healing, the healing of your finances, the healing of the kinds of people that you're drawing in, because you're going to have healing, you're going to be healing your self-worth. Because when you feel differently about your mother, you start to see her as a young woman who was struggling and didn't have all the tools and the resources of a mature mother or a crone, who can look back with wisdom and more compassion and patience. So when we can see our mothers as like young women who were just human and learning and messy and imperfect, just like we are, it makes everything that we were so hurt by less personal. Because we're like, oh, they didn't know what they were doing, and they didn't know what they were saying, and they didn't know how hard that would hit. And they were just frustrated and short and unconscious, and they had less self-control. So, it starts to make you feel like, oh, okay, that wasn't me. It was just, and then you start to think about things differently. You start to feel more compassion for them and less victimized by their youth and their inexperience and their own unhealed pain. We're lucky and blessed to live in times where we've had so much access to self-help and psychology and spirituality. So much more than they did. Even religion, we can listen to so many different spiritual thought leaders on different topics. Whereas, when our parents were growing up and our grandparents, they had very little exposure. Maybe they had some books, but not many. And they had the people that they were around, and they had newspapers and things like that, but like they didn't have, and I mean, I'll like, if you have baby boomer parents and they had TV and all that, but they didn't talk about things on TV like we do. Like when we see clips of Mr. Rogers and he's talking about self-esteem and loving yourself, and he's talking about learning about sadness and grief, and he's teaching people how to deal with life. And that was unheard of. That was not happening. It was not in the zeitgeist. So he was a pioneer, really. So they didn't have the resources that we've had. So it's easier to let some things go and to understand more. I mean, obviously there's some things that people suffer, abuses that, aren't okay, and they never will be. But if you can allow yourself to be open to the process of forgiveness, it is a process, then it's going to start taking the pain away from you. And it doesn't necessarily it doesn't justify them or condone them, but it does set you free, and it takes that aching pain and that burning pain away over time. It lessens. And I think that definitely helps change your whole vibration, and it starts to call in better experiences. Oh, I love this card. A new dawn. The worst is behind you, and positive new experiences are on the horizon. This is kind of like when we talked about the storm is over, or like the storm is past. And it's like the storm's never, I mean, there's always going to be another storm. but at least this storm has calmed down. And it might rain again, and there might be lightning again, and there's definitely going to be rain and lightning again, and thunder, and severe weather, and high winds, and floods, and, all of that. The storm, metaphorically, is just going to keep coming when the weather gathers, and it happens, the conditions are there, and it happens again. So there's always going to be this rainbow after the storm, and the clouds will always clear, and the sun will come out. And just like there's a new dawn, there's a new night every day. It gets dark every day, but there's also a new dawn every day. There's a new life being birthed forth in every moment that we get to breathe, that we get to say, you know what, this is the dawn of a new minute. I can refresh myself in this minute and think differently and go forward and have a new day and a new experience, So be refreshed and be encouraged that for now we are protected, and maybe in the most tiny personal of moments, right now in this second, everything's all right, things are going to be okay. We'll handle tomorrow when tomorrow comes, but for now, the worst is behind us in a way. Whatever that way is for you. Maybe it's just that you get to put this day away and go to bed and wake up again tomorrow and feel refreshed and have a new mindset. Try to get a new mindset before you go to sleep. Try to offload and unburden yourself. And that's why I love prayer. You get to pray out loud and tell the Creator, and cry to the Creator, and let it all out, and feel really heard. Because you know what? When you do that, when you break your heart open and you talk to the Creator out loud, the Creator will send you a little something to remind you that you are okay, that you are protected, that you are loved, and that your angels are around you and they're taking care of you, and you can call on them anytime. So the worst is behind us, and positive new experiences are on the horizon. Now, I know that we all know that the worst is not behind us, but we can choose to make this a moment of change, and that will prompt us to have a new level of desire to bring goodness into the world, to become more like the light of the Creator than ever, to draw closer to the Creator, to create the things that you're good at creating, whether that is, you're good at making people feel at home and taken care of. Maybe you're a painter, maybe you arrange flowers, maybe, whatever it is that's your creativity. If you're a songwriter, whatever it is, creating a meal, creating a comforting space for you or your family to be in every day. That is creation. That is creativity. Creativity is finding ways to solve problems and to navigate through difficult times. Put your creativity and your restlessness to positive use. Whatever, somebody was just talking about this, whatever you feel passionate about, there are already groups that exist who are really great at taking on this cause or this issue. Or, and that there's already organizations around it. And so you can join the ones that are already there and add to that, rather than feeling overwhelmed like it's all up to you to do by yourself. They were talking about how in this day and age we get really isolated, and we take on everything by ourselves, and we think, oh, I'll just take care of it myself. We don't use our communities like we used to. We don't lean on one another like we used to. We don't commune like a tribe like we should. And so just know that you don't have to create something new all on your own or start from scratch. Like there's probably whatever's blazing in your heart is already going on, so you can find good ways to direct your energy and your intelligence and your imagination and your spirit and your heart and your creativity and your talents. And I'm just going to end it with that tonight. And yeah, y'all, we have prayed. We have run up and down the aisles. Protection. All right, so I'm squeaking into my couch. So there's like weird noises happening. Just in case you can hear this, I'm sitting on a leather couch. Okay, so protection. Ready, set, go. Take action. Now is the perfect moment to dive in and embrace your heart's desire. Pay attention. Notice repetitious signs and your inner guidance, as this can yield valuable information. Mother healing. As your feelings towards your mother heal, your desires manifest more rapidly and accurately. And a new dawn. The worst is behind you and positive new experiences are on the horizon. I've always had good experiences and positive turnarounds after this card shows up. So it is definitely a comfort. I think it's just a double emphasis over here, showing up with what looks like Mila Jovovich from Blue Lagoon, Return to the Blue Lagoon. Tell me it isn't. Our mermaids are here to give us assurance and comfort. All right, y'all. Until tomorrow, we will be back for our weekly alchemy message where we unpack this week's lessons and we get into how we're approaching the process. All right, till tomorrow. Ciao, bellas.